Hello and welcome to Movie Film Studios, the only podcast that takes you inside the mind of two film studio executives as we unravel and then re-ravel the best that Hollywood has to offer. I'm Isaac.
And I'm AJ, and today we donned our Kubrus and sat down in the Movie Film Studio Memorial Theatre for this, our Australian-themed episode, and watched the 2001 action comedy Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. Yow. That's a croc.
It sounded much more like a jungle cat, but I don't actually really know what a croc sounds like. So,
now we had a situation come up before we get into the box office report for this week. We had a situation come up whereby the Australian government said to us. Now we are obviously based in Hollywood, Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
The Australian government sent us a letter, and they said to us, "Look, you guys claim to be Australians, but you have not made a film in Australia for something like 30 years. And if you don't make a film soon, we're going to revoke your Australian citizenship." And I don't know about you, Isaac, but I just was not going to have a bar of that.
Oh, no, not with the significant tax breaks we get from being Australian citizens.
Absolutely. It's so lucrative. So to that end, we went back home to the good old...
AES of you?
Yep.
Sure. AU of S.
AU of S. And we started hunting around for a film that we could make, something that we could do in our home country. To that end, we decided to purchase yet another studio. So I'm pleased to introduce to you Dave from the studio. Tell us, Dave, what studio we've bought.
Hi, my name is Dave, and I am the chief executive, you could say, of the Australian film studio known as Sydney Down Under Films.
Sydney Down Under Films, now a part of the Movie Film Studio umbrella.
Yeah, S-Stuff for short.
S-Stuff. Brilliant. Welcome aboard.
Stuff.
Welcome aboard. Do you like the Memorial Theatre?
I do. It's lovely. It's a bit more, fancy than what we have.
Well,
it's nice to get an upgrade. Thanks for having me on board, guys.
We've done well for ourselves, I think.
A green room too. I mean, really, we have sort of like a green corridor. But
wait till you get to the actual green room as well.
Oh, right.
I've been told it's nice.
Wait till you get there. But before we get on with all of that, I think it's time for box office report. So, Isaac, last week we released the road tripping film Trippin' with 4 asterisks on the end of it.
Yes.
How did we go?
I assume good. I haven't actually heard anything from our production team since they were sucked into the portal to the other dimension.
Oh, really?
The last report was that, there was a whole bunch of time paradoxes which were going on with having concurrent storylines, and we just made it very difficult to shoot in our own dimension. So we used the teleportation sting technology that we have, and cut them off in the in-between dimension, which we felt was a much better place for them to be shooting 4 films concurrently on the very strict time budgets that we've given them.
We gave them a week, didn't we?
We gave them a week to essentially shoot 4 films 600 times. So time works completely differently there. I assume that they're close to wrapping, but again, no communication from them. If they can get back home, then hopefully we'll have a great film. And we can just pray for the best, really.
Yeah, maybe in that split second when we actually take the musical sting, we can wave at them if we see them in there.
I'm still not daring to open my eyes, but maybe
I'll just wave anyway.
Just wave,
just in case.
Right. Just in case. As a pick me up for them, just in case they are stuck there forever.
Okay. All right, brilliant. Well, I can't wait for the release of Trippin' 4 asterisks. So on to this week in trailers. So this week we sat down and watched a fantasy film from the producers of Harry Potter called I Kill Giants, I believe, based on a
acclaimed graphic novel, if the trailer would have us believe.
Yep.
Apparently.
Yep. Well,
haven't heard of it. And again, one of those very, very nice to see from the producers who brought you the Harry Potter films.
Yep.
Good to see that they're up to something, and they can, it's not just the Independence Day guys that get their producer credit in trailers. So.
Why should the writers and directors get all the credit?
Exactly.
I know.
So, hey, those producers, apparently do some work, so they should get recognised.
Well, we do. I mean,
they do.
That's part of what this podcast is all about, to really illustrate how important a Hollywood film executive is to the filmmaking process. As you can see, we really are behind the whole kit and caboodle. It's really the entire.
You would almost think it was a two-man operation the way it was run.
I know.
You're just so involved in every aspect of it.
I know. But it it's all credit where all credit's due. It's us at the top, and then our 50 floors of lawyers.
So like a Ponzi scheme, or
sure. But it's but
like a film thing, I get what you're going for. Yeah.
So the basic synopsis of the trailer is that there's a young outcast girl, probably somewhere between 12 and 15. I'm not really sure of the age. She wears rabbit ears as like an affectation. No one really likes her at school. She seems to have built up this mythology in her head that there's giants who are going to attack the town, and she's the only line of defense, and she seems to have laid cables along the beach and hooked them up to electricity. There's an old train yard in the forest where she goes exploring, and Zoe Saldana, I think, who plays her teacher at school, thinks that, this kid's a little bit mentally unstable, and the things that she believes in aren't real, and then it comes to a head where she is potentially not mentally unstable, and there are giants attacking her, and there's a couple of CG shots of giants coming out of the sea. It's that mix of real world and fantasy, and the make-believe of kids manifesting itself in the real world kind of story. It does feel very Harry Potter-ish.
It does, actually, yeah. I noticed a fair few shots in that trailer sort of looked exactly like a lot of the shots from the later Harry Potter films as well, so I suppose they're going for that kind of aesthetic.
Well, that's the influence of the producers there.
And, they are using the cachet of being associated with Harry Potter to try and milk as much money out of this as possible, because without that name in there, it's just another sort of young adult fantasy-esque type film.
Yeah. But I think it's a thing that happens in a lot of kids' films or young adult films where there's always some kind of magical world that the adults don't believe in.
Yeah.
It's a place where they get up to adventures, or they're the hero or something, and they're always struggling to convince adults that it's actually real and this and that. So it must be sort of a kid fantasy, I guess. I wouldn't know. I don't have kids. I never will.
And never was one.
Yes, I came out of the...
born with a briefcase.
So, yeah, I don't know. It looks... it looks moderately entertaining. It could be fun. Some of the line readings in it, though, are a bit suspect, and some of the script lines in it are pretty janky as well. But
hopefully they're not from the final cut. They went, well, we've only filmed about a third of it, so we've got to use some of the takes that we might not really use in the end.
Or is it a thing where film productions film stuff specifically for trailers and don't actually put it... Because Rogue One was a big thing that happened.
But Rogue One underwent a whole bunch of reshoots, which is why, there's a whole bunch of shots in like, there was a TIE fighter in this scene in the trailer, and it's just gone, and there's absolutely no point in where... they're running along the beach with like a briefcase trying to escape from an AT-AT, which was like in the trailer, but
no briefcase.
I think, is that something that we should get into? So we make a film and then we cut a trailer that has nothing to do with the film and then release the film?
Well, at least that way it won't spoil the movie.
That's right, yeah.
Exactly. All the funny...
Yeah, all the bits, all the stuff was in the trailer,
You get to the movie and you go, that was your best bit, I've already seen it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point. We should, write a film script and then write a trailer script and just shoot them independently.
Yeah.
And just because they happen to be called the same
film,
we just get people in the door. And I mean, again, has to be said, got to get your executive producers in there for the marketing purposes.
Yeah.
But I think that's really all you need to do to get people through.
For sure. I can't wait for one of our film trailers to say from the executive producer of, and just have a massive list of all our films in there, including that holiday special we made, which has the longest name in the world in it.
Under one roof, in brackets.
That's a lot of brackets, yeah. What else did we watch this week?
There are a few other ones. The one that is most noteworthy is Dundee, the son of a legend, returns home. So there's a Danny McBride is in a couple of like little teaser shorts about the potential release of a reboot of the Crocodile Dundee franchise, and that's essentially what's been part of the stimulus for us doing the Australia special and watching specifically the third installment of the Crocodile Dundee film, Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. We won't really talk too much about those little teaser shorts because there's not much to them for good reason. So we might just skip over that and go straight to our feature film.
The feature film. Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. As Isaac mentioned, this is the third film in the Crocodile Dundee franchise, which is currently dormant.
Yes,
Well,
so...
It's the climax of the trilogy.
Yes. So Crocodile Dundee was 86, Crocodile Dundee 2... 88, pretty much based on the fact that Crocodile Dundee was a major international box office success and has been for a very long time one of the highest grossing Australian films made. Obviously followed up quickly with a sequel, which not as well received, but still did quite well financially.
Yeah.
And then a short 13 years later, Paul Hogan's back reprising the role of Mick Dundee.
Looking very leathery, I might add.
So he was 60, I believe, there or thereabouts when this film was shot. And it really begs the question, if it's taken this long to make the film, who is it for? Is it for Australian audiences who wanted to see this character back on screen again? Is it for the American audiences so we can play up the stereotypes that are sort of peddled in the first few films? And having said that, there's really bad Australian stereotypes which are perpetuating views of the way Australians live, which aren't accurate. There's really bad stereotypes of Los Angeles and Hollywood, which is sort of really poorly conceived visions of what actually sort of goes on in that filmmaking environment. So if it's not portraying either of those accurately, then what's the point?
Let's not also forget the homophobia as well. That's sort of in it.
There's again, homophobia. There's racial implications that are less than politically correct. There's but
the whole idea of it, and I suppose what they were trying to think of in terms of getting away with this kind of... In the 80s, I suppose it was just one of those things. I was like, yeah, that's a funny thing. Let's make fun of that. In the early 2000s, it starts to feel a little bit anachronistic or archaic, actually. But I think the whole idea was just it's fish out of water. They're small town country bumpkins who really don't know anything about the world. There's bits in the film where they, a bunch of Hollywood people ask Paul Hogan whether he knows Mel Gibson, and he's like, "Oh yeah, mate, I know Mel Gibson." And he's confusing it for some guy he knows called Mal Gibson.
Malcolm Gibson. He's like, "Oh, you know Mal Gibson." I'm like,
and
so that really is a good entry point to the fact that this film is just a series of fish out of water sketches. It's how does a Northern Territory croc hunter when they're going on a movie studio, what's some funny things that can happen there? What if he's an extra on a film set and doesn't know what to do? What if they accidentally walk into a gay bar and use the word poofta in a film, which is just really? In 2001? That just seems just insanely homophobic. What if he's walking along Venice Beach and, runs into some roller skating chick? So they loosely try and tie all these things together with a plot which is...
well, we should probably do a 2-minute recap before we go on.
That's true.
Don't want to give it all away.
No.
It should be easy because the main plot occupies a fraction of the film,
Yeah.
and the rest of it are just these fish out of water sketches. So,
All right, so I am actually going to give you a timer,
Yes.
we've been doing recently.
exactly. Cut me off at 2 minutes, irrespective of whether I've recapped the entire film or not.
All right, brilliant. Okay, Isaac, 2 minutes on the clock, and your time starts now.
So we open in the Northern Territory where a 60-year-old Paul Hogan is playing Mick Dundee, trying to trap an enormous crocodile who's in a swimming hole there. He's failing. His wife gets a call that she's needed back in Los Angeles, so they uproot the family, which includes their 9-year-old son, Mikey Dundee. They move to Los Angeles, and loosely there's a plot there where the journalist that the wife works for was investigating a studio, and some sort of shady dealings were going on. There's a bunch of really loose random sketches, and then it turns out that they were partly filming a film in Europe, in Yugoslavia, and some of the props they were using were stolen films from World War II or something like that.
Stolen art.
Rembrandts and Van Goghs, and they were smuggling them into the country as film props. Mick Dundee breaks into the studio and uncovers the scheme, and they all live happily ever after.
Great, that's it.
And you say that's supposedly a synopsis of the film, but that's two kind of half-referenced scenes in the beginning, and then the final climactic sequence, and the rest of it is just what if Mikey Dundee, the 9-year-old kid's teacher, had the hots for crocodile hunters, and we bring over Crocodile Dundee's mate, and she has the hots for him.
Discount Carrie Packer.
Yeah, just like all these really weird sketches throughout the film, and they don't land. What if this guy is like has to go to a Hollywood party with champagne and just wants to drink ice cold beer, but everyone else is having martinis? Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
And what if he's in a fancy house and is trying to operate the jacuzzi and it goes crazy? That'd be funny too. And all of these scenes is just like they've put Paul Hogan in there and just said try and be funny, and some of them haven't worked, and it's so obvious when the scene just like fades to black about 30 seconds in, going, that really felt short. Obviously they couldn't get quite enough humor out of that one. Or other ones like the payoff line where they were going to cut away doesn't land, but then they just cut away anyway because it's like there's nothing funnier after this point. So.
Or just that jacuzzi scene as well, which they just drop into the film for no reason. So it goes from like a daylight scene, and then it's just nighttime and he's in the jacuzzi. He does his little thing, and then the scene goes back to daytime, as if like another day has passed, and that scene's in there for no reason.
The other one that's in there as well that I forgot is they see a skunk by the side of the road.
Oh, yeah.
And they pull up in the middle of traffic, and then for some reason someone thinks they've seen a bomb, so the cops come in and they're like, oh, it's just a cat. Oh, no, wait, it's a skunk. And then he's all over the news. I'm like, that's a little sketch in the middle of what they do.
I saw that sketch back in 1930.
Yeah, it's just rubbish. The whole film is just insanely boring in a way where like it at no stage grabbed my attention and then failed to not keep it. I mean, it succeeded in not keeping my attention the entire film. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I don't know who it's for. It's not funny and it's not interesting.
I agree. I found it quite boring.
I think maybe it comes from a little bit from Paul Hogan's originally came from a sketch comedy background where he did like little self-contained scenes
from like the late 70s.
Yeah, and then again, there's like there's a mugging scene in there as well, which is like a little callback to the original film where he gets sort of mugged in New York. And I don't know, I just there's no reason for this film to exist.
No.
I don't know. There's some things in there. I'm like, this feels a little bit Lethal Weapon. This feels a little bit Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
There's
kind of like Lethal Weapon 4, where like, oh, this time we really are too old for this shit. And
Yeah.
we've got to make another one before we're too old to make.
And
these
also,
movies.
let's elevate the side characters to like prominent starring roles. There wasn't Lethal Weapon 4 when Joe Pesci was like all over the posters as well.
He first appeared in the second one.
That's right,
the third one they gave him more to do.
Yeah, and then the fourth one, it was just like,
something.
I'm pretty sure like he was in front of Mel Gibson and Danny Glover on the posters.
Well, you have to stand in front of them because he's short.
Yeah.
True.
If you stood behind him, you wouldn't be able to see him.
But I mean, do you go to Lethal Weapon to see Joe Pesci?
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
sometimes they go, we're going to continue the franchise, but under someone else's name. So like Die Hard 5 kind of did that a little bit. Jai Courtney was supposed to be Bruce Willis's son.
Yep.
And I got the sense with that one that maybe they'd be going to do more Die Hards with Jai Courtney as the main role rather than Bruce Willis, like they were trying to pass it off. The film was bad enough that I think the studio might not actually do that. But like, you kind of feel as though that when they do these things, it's with the sort of like the little, we're going to keep the franchise going, but under some like
kind of like how they cast Shia LaBeouf in that adventure film with that guy that wears a fedora and carries a whip, and then they decided not to do that.
Oh, is that the thing that we don't talk about? They did try that with this movie though, because the kid is called Mikey.
Yeah.
And at the end, Crocodile Dundee and his wife actually get married, so he would now be Mikey Dundee.
But that's apparently a big part of the film, is that like, oh, why is my last name not Dundee? It's like, oh, your mother and I never got married. We are pretty much married. And then there's a big sort of relationship resolution where it's like, it's about time we tied the knot. And then it's a wedding scene and they throw the bouquet backwards and the giant croc who lives in the lake catches it. I'm just like, oh man, that's very, very weird. But like, that's supposed to be like a resolution to a character tension that was just never there in the film.
It was mentioned twice. It's like the actual main storyline about the plot to steal the art. It's like there's like two scenes and there's a sequence at the end.
Yeah.
This one there's like, they mentioned, why am I in school under mum's name? Oh, it's because we're not technically married.
Isaac's summary of the film was about as long as the film. Oh, absolutely. Like the scenes containing the plot of the film.
That took 15 years to write, apparently.
Oh, really?
There's
there was a gap.
Yeah. There's a good 30-minute sequence where you just don't see the bad guy. Like the guy who's the head of the studio who's smuggling in these artworks. We're just sort of like, we've just watched 30 minutes of these 5-minute sketches and little gags, and at no point have they referenced the main plot of what initially the characters think it's a drug or ammunition smuggling ring.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that it's art smuggling instead. But they just don't reference it. They don't reference it for big chunks of the film, and then sort of like bring it up occasionally when just like we're going to have a resolution to this film at some stage.
I think the whole point of this film, and I think to sort of summarize what this whole thing is about, it's really like, let's take a beloved character who's a kind of a fish out of water character and just do that again.
But
in a more modern
very
context.
Vaguely, slightly different setting.
Exactly.
It's Los Angeles.
But maybe that's what the audience wants.
It is kind of interesting you mentioned that, because one of our main reasons for the acquisition of Sydney Down Under Films is, or stuff, or did you call it S-Stuff?
S-Stuff.
S-Stuff.
Stuff.
Stuff.
Stuff. It's sort of not a hard D.
All right, okay. Is because of the existing body of films that they'd made back in the 80s. We probably shouldn't discuss it in this setting because
no, definitely not.
Any film ideas need to be done in the right location. And
I know that Paramount and Universal have definitely got spies around the place as well.
That's true. We've put a lot of money into soundproofing. That's at Green Room, and we've got some bug sweeping.
Yeah,
we've got a fly screen.
Last week I hired out the elevator to someone, and I didn't really veto it very well. I didn't really do a lot of background checks. I have a feeling it could have been Universal.
Oh, really?
Paramount, yes.
You guys have an elevator?
Yeah, well, it's what we used to take up to the green room.
We used to use it, and then we
discovered
just hired it out as an office, a moving office space.
Yeah, that's right. The view changes every day.
Yes.
Yeah. Multiple times.
All right, so do you want to take us to the green room, AJ?
I think I will take us all to the green room through the power of musical sting.
And don't forget to wave.
And we're in the green room.
This is impressive. It didn't just live up to the dreams. It sort of surpassed them and then waved as it went by.
How are you feeling, Dave? Because
I feel like what I had for lunch is now like I'm going to maybe try it again.
Okay.
I feel like I can taste what I ate for lunch tomorrow. Is that?
I feel like I can taste what Dave ate for lunch yesterday.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was
tacos.
Well, that was sort of the day before. So.
Oh, God.
All right, so...
Also, I could have also sworn that when I waved, something touched my hand.
Oh, really?
And it was simultaneously wet and dry. I don't know how that's possible.
Yeah.
It's the humidity.
It is. But welcome to the green room.
So, Dave, as we mentioned, you have existing intellectual property, which we've acquired your studio because we're planning on rebooting.
That's right.
Rebooting that classic Australian film franchise from the 80s.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a rundown of what Sydney Down Under Film Studios is mainly known for? Yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, we haven't made anything for a good while, so it is mostly intellectual property management.
That's right. We got you on the cheap as well as a result.
Yeah. So I mean, our big ticket is the series, the beloved series, sort of Fish Out of Water series called Wombat Barnes.
Wombat, of course. I remember watching that back in the 80s when I was a youngin' and just loving it.
We did 3 back then, and then it, we sort of had to sort of pull the belt in a bit, and we couldn't really make any more. And it sort of lost its charm a bit. And the original writer director sort of left.
Yeah. Who was the actor that played Wombat Barnes again?
He's retired now.
Yeah, Jeffrey Fennelback.
Yes, Fennelback. Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. He was a lovely guy, but there were some creative differences, and we just sort of never made that 4th one. Yeah,
it's interesting, the Fennelbacks as well. They've been in Australia for quite a long time.
Yeah, he's Jeffrey Fennelback the third.
The third,
He doesn't use the 3 on screen because technically in Australia you don't use numbers and names.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's doing.
His dad played
Jeff too.
In the TV series, the black and white TV series from the 60s.
That's right. Yeah.
It's a legacy character.
Really. Exactly. And then there was the little kid who used to pick the wattle off the tree and use it like a trumpet to call the wombats from the scrubland.
Yeah.
And the wombats would sort of come along and help solve whatever mystery. Yeah. Again, I think Sydney Down Under Film Studios copped a bit of flack back then for ripping off Lassie.
and Skippy.
And Skippy and Flipper.
And Flipper,
there's lots of... and that
was the animal craze. It was that
exactly,
was
and that was great back in the 60s. And then in the 80s, obviously, Wombat Barnes came along and put like that sort of darker, sort of more adult, tongue-in-cheek sort of twist to that sort of kid series. What would happen if it was the next generation?
Yeah.
And now we're rebooting that again.
Yeah.
So TV series to film... and again, we talk about doing film. It could be any sort of mixed media thing here.
Well, you've got to be multi-platform these days.
Exactly.
Really. I mean,
and obviously, of course, with the sad passing of Jeff 3, we've actually, in contract negotiations with Jeff 4. And, I mean, she's not terribly happy that, her name's Jeff. And
but you got to keep that legacy going.
Exactly. I mean, and I understand where her parents are coming from. And it's great that they've done that. So, we can actually sort of bill it in the credits.
I think if you can have guys called Shannon and Stacey, you can have
girls called Jeff Fennelback 4.
Fourth, yeah. That's fine.
It's all fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so it feels like the time is right. I mean, the character has been away from our screens and our eyeballs for a long time now.
Yeah, there's a whole generation that doesn't know Wombat Barnes like we did, or even like our parents' generation did.
That's right, yeah.
Or our grandparents' generation with the original comic strip of Wombat Barnes as well.
So the important question we need to really ask ourselves before we go forth with production is this going to be a direct sequel to the last Wombat Barnes film, or is this a reboot?
Are you talking sort of Mad Max style? Where
That's right, yeah.
Like, Mad Max sort of goes 1, 2, and 3, and it's sort of linear. And then Mad Max Fury Road, you're like, where does this even fit? It doesn't quite fit into the existing universe. Different actors playing the same characters in a slightly different universe. We still called it Mad Max. I'd like to keep the universe sort of quite closed.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the original comic strip from the 20s and 30s that was published in Australian papers had those very unique characters, which then translated to the black and white film series, which then was in the movie series. It all feels like it's part of the same Australian bush universe, with that sort of slight supernatural overtones that they throw in occasionally, but not all the time. I think we just sort of stick within that and make it sort of a linear progression of those elements.
I agree. I personally would really like Wombat Barnes and I suppose her now, her range of Wombat friends to take on very issues of our time.
All right, okay.
So, dealing with computer hacking or dealing with cryptocurrency or dealing with...
I mean, she's basically an investigator of sorts, really.
Yeah. Again, and that would be the great kind of fish out of water style film that you would want, wouldn't it?
They hinted at that a little bit in Crocodile Dundee, Los Angeles, where he was sort of acting as a private detective, and at the end is like, I think I'm going to be a PI. No, just kidding, I'm not a croc hunter.
Yeah,
and so I like that. We can have Wombat Barnes as a PI, a private investigator. But sort of like with that cyber sort of spin.
That's right, yeah.
Over the top of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it still has to be very Australian, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
there has to be an Australian cryptocurrency that's that people are maybe sort of tampering with the market to sort of artificially inflate or deflate the costs and manipulating the stock market, and she's all over it.
Yep. And then you can have scenes where she has to send wombats in to infiltrate the server rooms as well.
Absolutely. I mean, they're incredible tunnelers.
And
they're just the right size for vents as well.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And movie film studios Workshop Digital can then do some nice digital wombats, typing and hacking on a computer.
Much happier with practical wombats.
Are we gonna train wombats to hack?
I mean, we could have some animatronic wombats.
Okay.
I think these days you really need to use a combination. Obviously, for the close-up hero shots, you use real animals.
So you're saying there's a three-prong attack.
It's the element of if you don't want to put the animals in danger.
So you have trained live wombats.
Yeah.
We have animatronic wombats, and we have CG wombats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually like that. The three-prong attack, which I believe they used for Jurassic Park. They had the live dinosaurs, the animatronic dinosaurs, and the CG dinosaurs, which, that stands the test of time.
It does,
It's proven.
All right, so we have Wombat Barnes trying to get to the bottom of a nefarious group of Australian mafiosos manipulating G'day coin. Sure. And just because if they can control the pricing of that, then they can.
That's it. They run the world.
Exactly.
Right? I think in this universe, Australia really is the center of the universe, the center of the world.
Again, how like Mad Max, we just don't reference that there is anywhere else.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And like those films, they don't directly reference the films that have come before, but they don't discount them either.
No, we'll chuck in some Easter eggs and
if you've seen them, you'll get that's from that. But if you haven't seen them, it still makes logical sense.
That's right. Yeah, just to to appease the fans. I mean, we've got generations of fans of this beloved property that we need to satisfy. So we can't chuck everything out and start again. We really do have to keep them on board and. It's the same way that, you slap Jumanji on the name of a film and people go and see it because it's a beloved property.
And because there's been this gap of, 20, 27 years or whatever it is now at least, we have to sort of remind them of, hey, these are the elements of the thing. And not everybody's going to remember.
Yeah. So what this film needs is a primary antagonist. We need a very evil head honcho kind of character who is manipulative and who is really the machination of all these cryptocurrency.
So someone like the Winklevoss Twins.
Exactly. In fact,
let's social media entrepreneur.
I mean, this time they're triplets. Right?
Yes, exactly. I really love that you said that because that's exactly what I was thinking. We need to have an identical triplet. Villain. Now, do we need to look for actual triplets?
I think what we do is we get a live-action triplet, we get a practical animatronic triplet, and we get a CG animated
triplet. Yeah, brilliant. Okay.
Can one of them have a mustache?
No, all of them have to have a mustache.
Yeah, exactly.
They're identical.
Identical twins.
Identical triplets.
They're
not born with the mustache, surely.
Well, no,
I mean, I just assumed that
some
fashion
sort of agreement that if one grows, they all have to grow it, so they remain identical.
One shaves it off. If one of them loses a finger, the other has to cut off the finger. So
the other two.
Yeah, the other two have to cut off their fingers. So it's almost like Prestige 2, where it's just like,
that's right. Yeah,
Prestige 2, the Squeakle. I've seen
that. So they're the what's their surname?
They are.
The Van Buren Boys.
Van Buren Boys, the Van Buren Boy triplets, who, everyone just knows them as being the social media geniuses, creators of G'day Coin, and all those sort of social media platforms.
Yes.
But little people know that they're data mining everyone's profiles. They're targeting ads to sort of get people to buy into this micro economy that they're trying to sort of build up and artificially inflate, and they're planning on destroying it and taking everyone with them, but taking all their money.
But they have got a weakness.
Do they?
Well, one of the triplets is having second thoughts.
Oh yeah,
so
I like
the
that.
other two brothers, peer pressuring into continuing,
and it's actually the second twin that's having second thoughts.
But see, See, I love the idea of this as well, because maybe that twin or that what do you call one of the triplet?
Yeah, that triple
person.
That person. Thank you for keeping us in politically correct territory.
Person singular.
That person.
That individual.
Gets in contact with Wombat Barnes, and tells her. That's this is what's happening.
I think
sort of a deep throat situation.
So the mystery is she's been getting these anonymous communiques throughout the film, and she's not sure who it's coming from. And the big twist at the end is it's the second triplet.
Yeah.
The animatronic triplet.
Or is it
the third man? But no, it's the second.
No, but or is it? Is it a double bluff or is it a triple bluff situation?
I say, it has to be a triple bluff because there's triplets.
Yeah. Exactly. So the first one's just evil. The second one is a double agent, and the third one's a triple agent. And she's been getting secret communiques, thinking it's from one person. It's actually from two people. But every other communique. So the first communique is from someone who is legitimately a double agent, and then every second communique is from the third triplet who's a triple agent, and she can only figure it out if she knows to ignore every other communication.
Yes,
because she's getting signals.
I'm sorry, I'm going to blow your minds here. The identity of the third triplet is Wombat Barnes herself.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So twist.
No, not Wombat Barnes herself. Wombat Barnes himself. It's actually Jeff
3.
Jeff 3.
Yeah, we've brought him back.
And they were the Van Buren Boys were actually only ever born as twins. Jeff 3 has infiltrated and pretended to be a third triplet the entire time.
Wow, sleeper triplet.
So in my head, there's a fourth prong attack to the Wombat, which is a cartoon animation, sort of Blinky Bill style. So Blinky Bill being a comic book character who was adapted into like an animated series.
Yeah.
So I like to have that hyper realistic CG animation, and then also have some parts which are just like cell-drawn, hand-drawn wombats as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you use that as like a dream sequence, or just sort of the film just randomly goes into that?
Yeah, sort of Roger Rabbit style.
Okay. They go through a door and suddenly...
But what we should also do is spin off the film into an animated series as well. So you know a lot of films back in the late 90s. The late 90s used to do this. So I believe like Ghostbusters had an animated series. It had a few of them actually. Jumanji had one as well, where they kind of retconned the stories of the first film and just said, well, we're going to do it a bit differently, but it's still going to have all the same characters in it.
Out over 84 episodes.
That's right, yeah. So I feel like we can also do that.
I mean, one of the biggest selling factors for Netflix, I find, is the fact that it's full of kids' animated TV shows, and parents can just plonk their kids down in front of a subscription service and say, all right, here's what you've got. Like, so Puss in Boots has its own animated series as like just a side character spinning off. There's no reason we can't spin off, not Wombat Barnes herself, but the Wombat Barnes has adventures, and it's just the adventures of the Wombat from Wombat Barnes.
And then like at the end of every episode, that Wombat then goes back to headquarters and talks to Wombat Barnes, and there's a kind of nice little wrap-up scene, and then that's it. You don't need to see Wombat Barnes, but we'll still call it The Adventures of Wombat Barnes.
But that's because the Wombat's name is Wombat.
No, it's The Adventures of Wombat, the Wombat from Wombat Barnes. Is what we'll call it. Because, as you're saying, there's the female detective, and her name's Jeff Barnes, but people call her Wombat Barnes because of her association with the wombats.
That's right.
But the wombats are called wombats. Which is, so you have to clarify it by saying The Adventures of Wombat, the Wombat from Wombat Barnes.
They have special wombat names, but they don't translate into...
Yeah, exactly.
No one can pronounce them properly.
It's a series of
Do we get other Australian animals in the mix, or is it specifically wombats? Because, I mean, again,
Well, I feel like the Triplets should have... like an animal antagonist. You know how, again... So like Dr. Evil has... Not Dr. Evil. Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget has...
well, Dr. Evil does.
And Dr. Evil actually
does.
But I was thinking of Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget has that white cat.
I mean, and Dr. No... I also Blofeld from Bond, and... I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones.
What's the Australian native equivalent of a cat?
I mean, we could just go... The Sydney Olympic Games had the three mascots of Sid, Millie and Ollie, which is like a platypus and a echidna and...
Can we get the rights to them and actually use
them? Yeah, so the Van Buren Boys each have
one of the Olympic mascots.
Olympic mascots.
Well, that makes sense because they're entrepreneurs, right?
Exactly.
So they've developed this cryptocurrency. They're sort of on top of the world. And so they've bought the rights to, I think it was like Ollie, Millie, and...
Sid, Ollie, and Millie.
Sid, Ollie, Millie, yeah. Which was an echidna, a platypus, and a bird?
Was
a kookaburra?
I honestly don't remember.
That sounds about right.
And there's a frill-neck lizard, I think, may have been the Paralympic
Paralympic ones, yeah.
And Fatso, the fat-ass wombat, was the unofficial one for the
Olympics. Unofficial.
So, so each of them get one of those as an animal, and then we bring them back as CGI, but they need to look like the Olympic mascots as well.
I think it's kookaburra, yeah.
So they won't look like real animals. They'll look like the actual cartoon Olympic mascots, but done in full CG.
Right.
Because they're actually
sort of
live.
what, like you mean like Yogi Bear style?
Yeah,
they do the live action film and try and make a cartoon character kind of look like a real bear, but also have enough elements of its cartoon.
Yep.
Interesting.
So it's like pseudo-realistic, pseudo-cartoon.
Are they in fiction? Are they genetically engineered animals to...
In Olympic fiction or in our fiction?
In our fiction.
Have trained a lot. They're Olympians.
Have the Van Buren Boys generically engineered the animals so that they are like genetically different from the regular ones?
Yeah, I would like them to be sort of like augmented, Terminated style with sort of like metal appendages in various places and sort of like the classic...
Can they be liquid metal?
Liquid metal, yep, sure. So liquid blood inside. They've got those like, those old 90s like visors that go down over one eye and they're red with a targeting reticule on it. I don't know what they do with them, but they've just all been
It's how they aim
modified.
As Olympic athletes.
That's right, yeah.
It's like archery. You need that red eye thing.
That's right, yeah, exactly. So they've all been augmented. The Van Buren Boys have...
They've got the money.
They've got the money, yeah. They do.
All right, let's talk casting.
Casting, yes.
We have, 4 roles to cast, essentially. We have Jeff Barnes, or Wombat Barnes.
We've got Jeff Fourth.
Yeah, she's being played by Jeff the Fourth. We have so the 3 Van Buren Boys,
Yes.
which we really only need to cast.
We only cast one,
and
yeah.
then we can do like a latex mold of face of one of them.
Yep, and then
the
we'll
other
do a
ones
digital scan of them as well for the
digital
CGI.
scan, exactly.
Well, unless we want... Well, I think actually what we should do for the CGI version of that character is get Andy Serkis to do the motion capture.
Of course. I mean, who else would you get?
Yeah, exactly. But we still need to... And I think we should really keep it an Australian cast. We don't really want to go down the Crocodile Dundee route and cast, like, I don't know, 15% Australian actors and then the rest is just American extras. I want this to be 100% Australian.
Especially if we're going to maintain those tax breaks.
Exactly, yeah. The Australian...
I think let's go.
So we
put all your Australian cast
now that
into
you
one
mention
film,
that, Dave, we actually can't get Andy Serkis because we won't get the tax breaks.
You're right.
If there's any...
but he did spend a lot of time in New Zealand.
He did.
It's kind of near Australia.
It's kind of it doesn't... There's no legal loophole.
No.
I was going to say, because I'd really like to get Rhys Darby in a role that's not just wacky side character.
Yeah.
But he is a New Zealand actor, isn't he?
Yeah. So who's the Australian version of Andy Serkis?
What age are the brothers?
Doesn't matter.
I'd say probably Liam Hemsworth age.
Oh, yeah, young.
Well, there are 3 Hemsworth brothers. Can we pretend they're identical?
Well, we only need one.
We only need one. Like, unless...
But maybe that's the gag. It's they look the same as like they
Chris
don't.
Hemsworth
they
is
do.
playing an animatronic version of Liam Hemsworth, and the older brother, who's Bob Hemsworth, I don't know his name,
is doing the motion capture.
Is doing the motion capture for the CG version of Liam Hemsworth.
Okay. I think you got Chris, Liam, and Doug.
Doug?
There's definitely a younger brother.
There's someone in there.
We put in one of our other films,
forgotten.
but this is the guy from Westworld who...
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Doug.
Dave? It actually... Is it Dave? Who knows?
So I also think maybe... Because I'm not sure which of those 2 Hemsworth brothers we should actually go with. Maybe we should just get them to fight for it.
I think Liam, in my mind at least, is...
You want
like,
Liam?
Yeah, he's a bit more Winklevoss than Chris.
Okay. I hope Chris is okay with playing a CGI version of Liam.
No, Chris is playing the animatronic one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the older brother.
The other older brother's playing the CGI version?
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, digitally smoothing his face is going to be...
Yeah. What about the animals? I mean, they all need voice casts.
Oh,
don't
yeah,
they?
that's true. I forgot that the Wombat from Wombat Barnes can speak in very Beverly Hills Chihuahua style.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can get... Sam Neill or Russell Crowe.
Neither of those are... Sam Neill's not Australian.
They're both Australian. Oh, no, yeah, Sam Neill's New Zealander as well, I believe.
Semi-naturalised.
Russell Crowe is a bit all over the place.
He was born in New Zealand, so is technically Australian.
Are there actually any Australian actors that aren't Cate Blanchett and Hugh Jackman?
Hugo Weaving
is New Zealand as well.
No, he's not.
No, I'm almost certain he was not native Australian. Yeah, okay, so Hugo Weaving, according to my research, not born in New Zealand, was actually born in Nigeria and is a British Australian actor. Does that count? Is that good enough?
We'll have to get the lawyers involved.
Yeah.
Whether they, there's
he's a hyphenate.
Exactly. I think there was a whole bunch of trouble earlier last year where politicians who had dual citizenship had to resign because technically they're not allowed to hold position if they have citizenship with another country. I think it's probably the same if we want the tax break for making this film, is that they have to be born in Australia.
I've got an idea for you. Shawn Micallef.
Oh, yeah? He's got a nice kind of sonorous voice. Does he have enough international
Absolutely
sway?
Not. He has zero international pull.
But it's a voice only. And we've also got the character of the tech sidekick that we have.
I know it is voice only, but we're not Pixar. We don't cast like actors that actually sound right for the role. We need to cast celebrities that people know that we can put on a poster.
Like a Sam Worthington.
That's right. Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington. His voice isn't distinctive enough. What, Ryan Quanten from True Blood? Who's... Yeah.
I don't think he's got a distinctive voice.
He doesn't either, no. No Australian voice is really good enough.
We're so used to them doing American accents.
I mean, we could just go for our old mate Hugh. I mean, he lives around here too, doesn't he?
I think he's got a house here and there.
Somewhere. Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, Hugo.
Yeah.
He's been in enough of our films that
he's a name. He does sell. He does put bums on
his
seats.
punch card should probably if you've been in 9 of our films, you'd be in the 10th one for free sort of thing.
What about the guy from Wolf Creek?
John Jarrett.
John Jarrett. Does he have enough international?
No, probably not.
No, he doesn't, does he?
You could,
God damn it, Australia! This is why we don't make films here.
Oscar nominees.
Or Cate Blanchett.
Yeah,
we've cast her in
Jackie Weaver.
Jackie Weaver. She's a good one. I mean, she likes to do those like really intense dramas. I would really love her to do like a really fun wombat character, or she could be one of the Olympic mascots.
That's right. We didn't voice cast the Olympic mascots.
No.
Either.
Which got 4 characters to voice.
Yes, and just any one of the people we've mentioned so far.
Just any of them.
So we'll get Sam Worthington, we'll get Hugh Jackman, we'll get Jackie Weaver, and we'll get Ryan Quanten.
There you go. You've got the four voices there.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Now
now
we need to do the sidekick to Wombat.
Wombat.
The wombat itself.
The one who sits back and does all the tech stuff via the...
Sure.
Wombat she's the action person. You need somebody to do
We
on
need
the phone
the
to
actual...
do exposition with, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I assumed that maybe a wombat would do that.
I don't know. If the Wombat's in, like, the vents and Wombat herself is, you know, hanging from something else, then you need somebody in a van. You need the person in the van.
The Simon Pegg.
The Simon,
Tom Cruise.
So who's the Australian Simon Pegg?
Who is the Australian Simon Pegg?
There is no one. Oh, Shane Jacobs. The guy from Kenny.
Kenny, yep, done.
He's got some international cachet.
Kenny was a very well received movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Made a few dollars here and there.
He was also the host of Top Gear Australia for a while. So
that's true. Yeah, there you go.
He does that one with like the kids, or is it, you know, kids do the darndest thing or whatever it is.
Sure, he did that. Oh God, we need to save him as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I think that's our full cast. So there's really only one thing left to do, and that's to give this amazing film a name. So, I mean, we're already sort of halfway there in terms of calling it Wombat Barnes. But we need a and the, I think. Because I think having and the really puts it into that sort of Harry Potter mindset where you've got a kids adventure kind of thing going.
So we talked about at the start that we do the film and then do our own trailer.
Yep.
So is there anything different we're doing in the trailer to make it seem different
from this? If you wanted to be like Indiana Jones, you could do, you know, Wombat Barnes and the Cave of the Cryptocurrency.
Yes, or the Cave of
just write a cave into it.
The Cave of...
Yeah.
Maybe that's where like the cryptocurrency was discovered
headquarters
in a cave.
Yeah.
So maybe the cryptocurrency isn't actually a digital currency, but it's like an ancient Mayan or Australian relic.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's assuming the Van Buren Boys are pretending as though it's a digital currency.
Yeah,
it's a real currency.
It's a real
ancient Australian currency,
indigenous Australian trading system.
That's another twist that comes at the end. It's
exactly.
Like,
well, that's what the trailer will be about. The trailer will be about the discovery of the cryptocurrency, and the film will kind of just be a sequel to the trailer.
Yeah, it's a teaser in the sense that the trailer is actually a prequel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a
5-minute prequel.
Yeah.
2-minute prequel.
That's actually a really good idea.
And so it's Wombat Barnes at the end. You go, what's that?
Is it in the cave of the cryptocurrency or in the crypto cave or
the cave of the cryptocurrency?
Yeah.
Okay, Wombat Barnes in the cave of the cryptocurrency has been birthed into the green room, into green light, and it is green lit.
Yes.
We'll get our production team working on it. I think this is all hands on deck.
Oh, for sure.
For this one, lawyers checking loopholes for getting those Australian tax breaks. Workshop digital, workshop practical.
We might have to get our hands dirty on this one, I think, and actually jump down into the workshop and get some help done on the animatronic.
Exactly. We need cell animators and animal wranglers, which we haven't had to bring in much before.
Dude, we're excited to get our hands on Wombat Barnes. It's a much beloved property.
Exactly.
I have such fond memories of it.
It's
really the reason.
I remember my great-great-granddad telling me about reading the comic strip. I remember my great-granddad telling me about watching the TV series. I remember my great-great-grandma telling me about the stage play Wombat Barnes that had limited run on Sydney's version of Broadway, whatever that happens to be.
Did think about taking it to the West End, but they couldn't fit the sets on the boat.
Yeah. So and then obviously my parents I think even met in line to one of the original Wombat Barnes films.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so this intellectual property means quite a lot to me and my family. And it makes me incredibly excited that we're going to make a butt ton of money out of it.
If I was still able to cry, there would be a tear running down my face right now, but I've had it surgically removed. I think that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that is indeed. Any housekeeping this week, AJ?
Always housekeeping. Moviefilmstudios.net is our website where you can find all of our previous episodes, some bios of us, and soon a page listing all the films. Well, actually, a portal to Mephizzawudda. No, I've got it wrong. Mephizzawudda. Where you can find all of our films.
So you've been working hard. There's a bit of a reskin if you want to have a look there. It's
website has a little bit
new and improved.
Yes.
I think we're classifying things as season 1 and season 2 and specials. It makes it much easier to find. And then you obviously eventually want to get movie posters up for all of our new and original intellectual properties. So we'll be generating some of that. If you guys want to spend some time in Photoshop putting something together as well, as we said, we'll be up there as well.
Yep. We'll credit you at some point. We have a Facebook page, Movie Film Studios on Facebook. Join the rest of the community there. Try and guess what the next film is. We put clues every week. I believe someone called Dave has been guessing quite a few of them correctly. Is he any relation to you, Dave?
It's a very common name.
Okay, fair enough. We're on Twitter as well. We are at Movie Film Studio. I'm in negotiations with Twitter to buy the S, but they're being very, very stubborn. We are on iTunes. We're on the place where you find podcasts on Android. I should really figure that out one day, where you actually get them from. Have a listen, have a like, give us a rating, give us a review. We'll read them out for you. Hey, that rhymed.
I suppose that all that remains is to thank you all for listening this week. I've been Isaac.
I've been Dave.
And I've been AJ.
Roll credits.